Good morning, John. I'd like to thank you for coming in and spending some time talking about yourself, your past, and answering some of my questions. If you don't mind, let's begin by if you can talk about your background, your childhood, where you're from, where you grew up, and how things, I guess, were when you were a teenager, when you were still a child, and then a teenager. If you could, please go ahead.
Okay. Well, good morning, Pavel. It's good to
morning.
be here with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's a pleasure to do this with you. Well, I was born and raised in the United States. I was also born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've lived here all my life. I've never actually lived in any other state, but I've made my life here in Philadelphia. And most of my career has been in Philadelphia and associated with Philadelphia for the most part. As far as a child, I had a good childhood. I had good parents, and they loved me, and I loved them. Like any other child, we always had our differences, child to parent, parent to child, but you get over that and realize that you're not the smartest person in the world, and even though you think you're right, you're not always right. You could be quite wrong. But when I was a child, I just enjoyed myself. Started working when I was about 5 years old. I was shining shoes. I loved to shine shoes. And I did that until I was about 8. Along with that, part of my life was a delivery boy. And I also worked in what they called at that time the garment industry, which is clothing and suits and shirts and dresses, and anything in the garment industry for the exception of overcoats and things like that. But I worked there as a bundle boy, and I did that for a long time.
I'm sorry, can you explain what a bundle boy is?
Yes, a bundle boy. Well, in the garment industry, there's different things that you have to do. The first thing you have to do is receive your goods. Your goods are this bundle that I'm talking about. And this bundle could be a part of a shirt, or part of a coat or a jacket or a suit that you wear. So as the bundle boy, I get these bundles, and these bundles I have to take to a person. So it's usually the sewers, and they call the sewers the floor girls, and there's a lot of them there, and most of them do the same thing. They sew because once you make a product, and a product is like if you're going to make a shirt or you're going to make a coat or a jacket, you get sleeves, you get the breast, you get the back, and you get the zippers, you get the buttons, and all of that counts. So if you have, let's say, 25 girls that are sewing, they each get a bundle. So the bundle means that I have so many of a particular item, a breast, okay, which there's a seam that comes down the side, and of course the front where the buttons go, and then everything is sewn into place. And this is what I did. I took these items and I used to take them to the girls, women actually, and they used to sew them together to make a piece of goods, as they were called. And this is what a bundle boy does. He takes the bundles of whatever it is to the girls, and they sew them together.
I guess as far as you can remember yourself being a child, and now your own children are grown and you have grandchildren, how do you see, I guess, difference? What do you see the difference from your childhood to the way children are being raised right now, how the parents' attitudes are different, how overall environment is different, and in which ways, and do you see any pros or cons to the way things were when you were a child to how it is now? And if you see any problems with what's going on right now, what do you think are the ways to correct it, hopefully?
All right. Well, when I was a child, in the 50s, because I was born 1952. So growing up in the 50s and the 60s, things were a lot safer on the streets. As a child, yeah, you needed work papers, and I wasn't allowed to work at that age. But I did work because I wanted to earn money. I wanted to make my life better, and I tried to. And I seen my own family, how they worked, and they had to work for something, whether it was a mortgage or whether it was me needing a pair of shoes or a shirt for school or, you know, just something, sheets for a bed. You had to pay for it. So I learned at a very young age because I had a father that taught me at a very young age the meaning of money. And I had a mother that taught me the meaning of money. That you need to discipline yourself to a point to where you are going to be the kind of person you want to be when you grow up. So I had a good family that taught me that, and I learned a lot from it, especially when I was a kid. So shining shoes, being a delivery boy, or being a bundle boy in the tailor industry, and that's what it actually is, tailoring. I learned that, and I learned that from my family. And the things that I see different today that I didn't need to worry about when I was a kid, that these kids need to worry about today or think about this very seriously, and parents also. The streets are not safe anymore. Like when I was a child, I could have walked the streets day or night and not have to worry about it. And the same thing with my own parents, because I used to take a bus back and forth to school. If my grandfather didn't take me into work, or my father or mother didn't not into work, back to school, back and forth from school, then I had to take my own bus. And I was young then. And my school was, it was 10 blocks away. So that's pretty long. 10 blocks is a long way to walk in today's day and age.
On the average, how long is it 10 blocks? Would you say it's about
1 mile?
It's about a mile.
It's a mile. Considered in city distance, it's 1 mile.
Okay, so 1 mile is about 1.6 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I would say, about what, 20-minute walk?
Yes, as for a kid, yes, 20-minute walk.
Okay.
You know, and it was easy to do back then because you were taught at a very young age. This is the light. This is the light you cross by. There's red, yellow, and green. So the green means you go. The yellow means you be cautious, and the red means stop, don't go. But a lot of times you had to be very cautious anyway when you crossed the streets, no matter what, because there was always incidences that you see happen where people do get hit by a car, or there are accidents on the street. But my life when I was younger was just so good, and I loved to work. That's what I loved to do the most, was work. When I went to school as a young boy, I was in public school, or even before that, daycare. And that's where I learned to tie my shoes and, comb my hair and do different things that my mother and father would tell me what to do. So this all took place at a very young age, which I don't know if these kids today do that. Maybe they let their mothers and fathers do it for them. I'm not sure. But for me back then, my life seemed much easier back then than the life that a lot of people have today.
Being a grandpa yourself right now, what, if any, advice would you give to young parents today that just had children and often are not really sure how to raise those children? Looking down from your experience as a dad yourself and now as a grandpa, what advice, if any, would you give them?
Keep your children in your pocket. And what that means is hold them as close to your heart and to your life as you possibly can, because they're so precious. People really don't understand how precious life really is until something happens. And it doesn't matter what it is. Anything could happen to you as a parent, to them as a child, whatever the case may be. What I would advise a lot of parents today is be aware of the environment. Be aware of what's going on in the streets, not only with drugs. There are so many other things to worry about, to think about, and that would be how could you trust people out there with all that's going on? It's trust there is no trust really today as there was when I was a kid. Anybody can come up to me and I would answer them, even though I was told, be careful. And today, I don't know if that's true to where parents would tell a child, be very careful of a person. But you have to today because you never know what's going to happen. Our culture thinks different. People think different than what they did before. They're willing to take more risks today than they were when I was growing up. So you have to be careful of that. And what's on the street is so much different today than when I was a kid. We had playgrounds we can go to. We had swimming pools we can go to. We were always close to the neighbors next door. So you always knew where your child was. And a mother or a father was out there watching their children as they were playing outside or riding a bike. Well, today, I don't see that happening. Parents aren't as involved with their children as they were when I was growing up. The quality time that was spent with me as compared to what I see people doing today is quite different. The time is different because many people just don't have the time. They're a single parent, and it just is hard, very hard to do that. So be careful, be aware of who you are, be aware of what you hold close to your heart, and instill in your children those same qualities that you have, and keep them away from destruction, and most of all evil. And there's a lot of evil out there on the streets, and that's what you have to be very, very careful of.
If you can talk about your professional life, about your career, about your military experience, why you decided to join the military, your professional choices, and why you made those choices as far as your profession and your career.
Well, I always wanted to be a carpenter like my father was. So I always directed myself towards that way of life. My father was a great carpenter. I'm not saying that because he was. I was told that, and when I seen him work, I seen what he did. And I spent a lot of time with my father when he was working. So I had a chance to watch him directly. And as far as how I grew up in that environment. I knew what was important to me if I were to become a carpenter and how I need to direct myself in being a carpenter. So mathematics was very important to me. English was very important to me. So you can communicate. Of course, geometry, which is the arithmetic Bible of a carpenter. So you have those things to to understand. But those things I was developing as I grew up. Also, as far as my childhood, I aligned my childhood up with that and going into I forget what they're called today, but I went to a school where I learned academics in one school and I learned trade in the other school. The trade was, of course, woodworking or carpentry. And that's how we did that. So you constantly, or I constantly tried to stay in line with what I wanted to do for my life. And I loved what I did when I was working. I enjoyed it. And I have no regrets being what I was. I provided for my family, thank God. And it was a good thing. As far as the military is concerned, well, at the time I grew up in the Vietnam era, so that meant that I was drafted when I was 18 years old. So instead of just being drafted, I joined, and I put 23 years in the military, not as an active member every day, but as a National Guardman, and then when I needed to go on active duty, I did. I was called up a number of times, so that was part of it, and I had a really, really good time in the Army. I enjoyed what I did. And as far as worrying about Army and things that are going on in the world, well, I grew up also in the Cold War era, which was a Russian USSR, I think they were called back then. I'm not sure what they call themselves today, but that's what they were. And it was just a Cold War, meaning that nobody's hot-headed level rose. It was just called a Cold War. So that was that. And military, again, I put 23 years in. I retired, I believe, when I was 42 or 44. I don't remember quite exactly. But I did well in the military. Excuse me. I was a sergeant first class. That would be 3 rockers up and 2 rockers underneath. And that's a sergeant first class, E7. And that's how I retired, as an E7. And from that retirement, I do have a pension. And from my regular job when I retired, I have a pension. So that was very good for me. It supported our family, and it helped. It helped a lot. And as far as the rest of my life, I'm living it now. And I love my life. I love my life. Thank God I have a good life.
Very good.
And a friend like you.
Well, speaking of a friend like me, if you can briefly talk about how we met and why we continue to not only communicate, but I guess even grew even closer in those, over 21 years?
Yeah.
21 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, I met you when I was in college. What were we called? The
Art Institute of Philadelphia.
Art Institute of Philadelphia. I met you in 2003 or 4.
No, I think it was 2002.
2? Okay.
Because I graduated in 03.
03, okay.
And I think we met at least a year prior
Before
to my
that,
graduation.
Yeah, because you tutored me, and that's how we actually met.
I think it was actually in the summer of 02.
Yes.
I think it was the summer of 02.
Yeah, that's when I had to take the class, okay? So in doing that, algebra to me as a carpenter doesn't really make much sense to me. Like I said, geometry to me, it means everything because of what it is and because of what I do. So when I needed help, they said, go down and talk to the folks down there, and I did. And here they put me in contact with you, and voila, you helped me through algebra, and we became friends through that. And it was just great. We kind of struck it off really good. We became friends very quickly. Okay, you were warm, I was warm. We just we had something that we grew on, and this is where we are right now, and we're a lot closer than tutor and student. We're very good friends today.
Well, even if you had algebra questions right now, I couldn't help you because I don't remember a thing.
Well, what little I remember, I can place it because I had a grandson that goes to school, and he has this algebra stuff. So sometimes I help him. So I do little things that I remember when I can. But there was another subject that I had, which was statistics, and I really love statistics. It was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. A lot of people don't like statistics. I grew to like them like it as an art very much, and but not as much as geometry. But you weren't there then. But as far as you and I are concerned in algebra, I don't remember a whole lot either, because a lot.
Join the club.
Yeah, yeah. How true. Well, anyway, the best thing that happened there was our relationship, and how we just enjoyed each other. We enjoyed each other's company. We enjoyed each other's way of talking. We just hit it off very well. We had a good relationship, And when I went to college, I was 50 years old. When I graduated when I was 54. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in photography. So that's where I was back then. I used it for a little while, and sometimes I use it now. But it's not, photography then was quite different than photography now, as I believe everybody does know, because they carry a cell phone now, and you can actually take pictures with it, and that's the way they do it today at weddings.
Well, speaking of changes, I don't believe photography is the only change, not just in this country, but in most of the world. And as far as you remember yourself growing up to what's going on right now, in your eyes, with good and bad, how do you see the America changed?
America, when I was growing up, to me was a very safe country. We had a lot in our corner because a lot of people wanted to come here, and they wanted to learn, and they did. Not only was America safe back then, but it was respected. And that's something that America today does not have. They do not have the respect today, and they have gone through so many changes that the world, not only we living here as Americans see it, but the world sees it. And God only knows how much the world laughs at us, because here in America we have everything really at our fingertips, and a lot of times this sign means money. If you got this, you got everything. Well, you don't. If you don't have money, you don't have money. You can grow up poor, but it's always good to have $1 in your pocket. But the change today, the change in parents, how parents grew up, how children grow up, how parents raise their children, how and the family as the core of what life used to be back then. And that's a very big change. We had single parents then that divorced, but a lot of these new types of divorces today and these new types of ways of life are different. Different, not new, but different. You did have homosexuality when I was young. There was homosexuality there, but they knew their place. And they pretty much, what was called, stayed to themselves. They didn't intermix or mingle with straight people. They had their own ways of doing things, and that's the way they lived their life. And they still do that today, for the exception of the different things that are happening in the world today are not part of a normal way of life. Today, if people are different, they want to shove it down your throat, and they want you to accept them for whatever they are and whatever they do. And you can't have that. Even in a free society, you cannot have that, because you do not know what they really mean by what they are, what they want because of who they are or what they choose. And in my opinion, they're so confused today that the way life is going, it seems as if, well, it's not only seems, it's the truth. The truth of the matter is that children today are being taught things in school that I was taught against, okay? A boy is a boy. He grows up into a man. A girl is a girl. She grows up into a woman. But a girl is a girl, and a boy is a boy. Now, medically, there may be something different, and we understand that. But the doctors had that under control at the time. They knew what to do about many things, and they kept it to themselves. Where today, everything's out. Nothing is private. Nothing is considered wrong. Nothing is considered sacred. And that's a far, far way of where I was when I was a child. We had things that were considered sacred. We had things that we considered are important to us. But society today has taken that and turned it around 180 degrees. And whoever reads the Bible, if you do, you'll read that in the Bible, where everything that was good has now turned bad. Everything that was bad seems to be good. So it's a mix of, not culture, it's a mix of people. It's the person, individual, and that's where it begins, with the individual, that decides what they want to do and where they want to go and what they want to be in life. And I believe a lot of that is quite confusing to them, and quite confusing to, just say, an average person.
John, how do you see how do you see the future of the United States? What do you see ahead of yourself?
Oh boy. That, if you would have asked me that, let's say 65 years ago, because I'm 72, I would have been 7 years old. So, boy, that's so hard. That's such a hard question. I would have been able to answer that as a seven-year-old. So let me answer that as a 72-year-old. I see the United States falling into such dissemination, meaning getting worse than what they are today. I see the United States on a path that does not allow God in their life, don't want God in their life, and does not recognize God in their life. And this is not good, because this is how you decrease your humanity. You don't build on humanity by denying good things. You build on humanity by encroaching yourself, meaning getting involved with good things and leaving the bad things behind. Now that's what I was taught, and that's what I've learned in life. And I think a lot of people today just don't see that, or don't want to see that. They want to say, well, what was wrong is right now, and what is right, or what was right back before, is now wrong. And that's not true at all. Things do change, yes, I understand that. But then for people to let it change to a point to where it gets so bad, it's no good. And America, being the picture of freedom, supposed to be a picture of love, family, all the good things that it was many years ago. America isn't all that anymore. I think it's very little of what it was before. And we really need to get back into what we were, our beliefs, how we carried ourselves, meaning how we acted, how we spoke to people, which today people are disrespectful. As you can see what road rage is, to really hit the nail on the head. So America needs to really get back on its good side of where it was years ago, and start to do things better and get better and better and better as we once were.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts. I appreciate your time. Thank you once again for coming in and
thank you, Pavel.
speaking to me and to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see if our viewers are gonna be interested in, or might have some additional questions.
Yes,
And
sure.
if there are additional questions in the future, would you mind answering them?
Not at all. Not at all. No.
Well, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Father.
And have yourself a good day.
Yes, do the same. Thank you.